Hello everybody, let's talk about the coin toss scenes in No Country for Old Men. There are two scenes in the film, there are also two scenes in the novel. Let's talk about the coin toss. The film's antagonist, Anton Chigurh, he uses a coin toss. Why does he use a coin toss? Let's discuss that. In both the film and novel versions of No Country for Old Men, the antagonist, Anton Chigurh, uses a coin toss to dictate if he will let someone live. Some may argue that he's just a psychopath who does it for cold-blooded enjoyment, but the actual reason is much deeper, and Chigurh doesn't appear to enjoy the coin toss. So what does the coin toss mean? We can get some insight into what the coin toss means by studying three scenes. These scenes involve only Chigurh and one other character. Chigurh either kills them or spares them. The scenes are the one with the gas station proprietor, the one with Carson Wells, and the one with Carla Jean Moss. Chigurh offers the gas station proprietor and Carla Jean an opportunity to save themselves with a coin toss because they pose little to no threat to him. The proprietor is simply an inconvenience to Chigurh because he noticed the Dallas plate on Chigurh's stolen car, and this makes him a potential witness for the police. Carla Jean is of no threat to Chigurh, but he was after telling Llewellyn that he would kill his wife if he didn't bring him the money. Carson Wells, on the other hand, is a rival hitman and is a very real threat to Chigurh, so offering him a coin toss with a 50% chance of saving himself would only allow Wells to remain a threat. Perhaps the most memorable scene in No Country for Old Men is the coin toss scene with the gas station proprietor. It is the only scene with a musical score that can be faintly heard when Chigurh is demanding the man call the coin toss. The music seems to be one sustained note, nothing complex. It is so subtle you may not be consciously aware of it. Maybe the Coens used that to emphasize some important insights into the mind of Anton Chigurh. The film uses a very good amount of dialogue from this scene, but the novel has more. Here's a passage to analyze. It happens after the man calls the coin correctly. "Anything can be an instrument," Chigurh said. "Small things. Things you wouldn't even notice. They pass from hand to hand. People don't pay attention. And then one day, there's an accounting. And after that, nothing is the same. Well, you say, it's just a coin, for instance. Nothing special there. What could that be an instrument of? You see the problem? To separate the act from the thing, as if the parts of some moment in history might be interchangeable with the parts of some other moment. How could that be? Well, it's just a coin, yes. That's true, is it? The coin is the instrument Chigurh speaks of. It is small, something most people wouldn't pay much attention to, but it's used as an instrument to spare this man's life. Chigurh flips it, and if the man calls correctly, he lives. Chigurh says it's a problem to separate the act from the thing. The act is Chigurh allowing this man to call the coin toss, determining his fate. The act could also be Chigurh killing the man, or letting the man live. He could also be referring to past encounters, when he engaged in the act of killing someone if they called the coin toss wrong. The act is what Chigurh does as a result of the coin toss, and the thing is the coin itself, seemingly insignificant, but an instrument playing a very important role. Chigurh may be psychopathic, but he doesn't kill for pleasure. The sigh he lets out, just before he tells the man to just call it, indicates he sees this as a chore he didn't see coming. He entered the store with no intentions of killing the man, but then the man notices the Dallas plate. He's of no real threat to Chigurh, and Chigurh knows this, so he decides to let a coin dictate what he should do. The man calls correctly, and Chigurh gives him the coin, telling him not to put it in his pocket because he won't know which one it is, and that it's now his lucky quarter. It's worth noting that perhaps the only time Chigurh shows what could be considered genuine joy is when he tells the proprietor, "Well done," after he calls the coin toss correctly. Maybe he was rooting for the man to save himself. It's worth noting that Cormac McCarthy wrote another, albeit shorter, scene with a coin toss in All the Pretty Horses. John Grady and Rollins come across a boy on a horse, and they pretend that they're going to flip a coin to see who gets to shoot him. "You want to flip to see who gets to shoot him?" "Yeah, go ahead." "Call it," said Rollins. "Heads." The coin spun in the air. Rollins caught it and slapped it down on top of his wrist and held his wrist where they could see it and lifted his hand away. The boy then tells them, "You were all just funnin'. I knowed you was all along." Chigurh waits for rival hitman Carson Wells in the lobby of a hotel. When Carson walks up the stairs, Chigurh follows behind him with a shotgun wrapped in a newspaper. Wells turns around and Chigurh drops the newspaper and brings the shotgun up to his waist. "Hello, Carson," he says. They go to Carson's room and there's no coin toss offered, but Chigurh gets philosophical and talks about life and fate, a lot more in the novel than in the film. Carson knows Chigurh is going to kill him, but tries in vain to save himself. He offers Chigurh 14 grand from an ATM and even mentions that he knows where the satchel of money is. Chigurh matter-of-factly tells Carson that he can't save himself, but allows him to explain his life choices to himself. Chigurh asks him, "If the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule?" Carson says he doesn't know what Chigurh is talking about, and Chigurh goes deeper. Chigurh explains that he isn't pursuing the money out of greed and that he lives a simple life. He tells Carson, "You've been giving up things for years to get here." He asks him, how does a man decide in what order to abandon his life? This dialogue is very similar to what Chigurh told the gas station proprietor. When he asks him to call the coin toss, the proprietor says that he didn't put anything up, but Chigurh tells him that he did, and he's been putting it up his whole life and just didn't know it. Maybe Chigurh is thinking out loud in his conversation with Carson. Maybe Carson explaining himself is also a way for Chigurh to better understand how the choices we make, however insignificant they may seem, can ultimately decide our fate. He didn't see the gas station proprietor as too much of a threat, so he gave him a final choice by calling a coin toss. But he saw Carson Wells as too much of a threat, so there was no offer of a coin toss. Chigurh also seems annoyed and disappointed with the proprietor, but hostile with Carson Wells. If you are enjoying this video, please consider subscribing or commenting, because that will motivate me to make more content like this. Even though Chigurh promised Llewellyn Moss that he would kill Carla Jean if he didn't bring him the money, he offers her a coin toss when she pleads with him to spare her. She says no, but Chigurh persists. The film version of this scene ends there, and cuts to Chigurh outside checking his boots for blood, a creative choice to show the viewer that he killed her. In the novel, she eventually calls heads like the proprietor, but it was tails. She is scared. Chigurh says he's sorry. She tells him that he doesn't have to do this. He tells her that he can't make himself vulnerable, and that his way of life doesn't allow for special cases other than a coin toss. Let's think about the word vulnerable. Earlier in the story, when the man in the office is talking to Carson Wells about dealing with Chigurh, he tells Wells that somewhere in the world is the most invincible man, just as there is someone who is the most vulnerable. Chigurh certainly seems to be like the former. He doesn't want to make himself vulnerable. Maybe part of him felt bad about killing Carla Jean, but he recognized those feelings as making him vulnerable. So he offered a coin toss as a way of her saving herself, without him sparing her just because she asked him to. Chigurh tells her, "When I came into your life was over. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is the end. You can say that things could have turned out differently, that they could have been some other way. But what does that mean? They are not some other way. They are this way. You're asking that I second say the world. Do you see? She answers yes and says she truly does see. Chigurh seems relieved that she did. Good, he tells her. That's good. Maybe Chigurh is saying that the way of the world is out of his control, and he is just a messenger. But at the same time, he's tied to how some things will turn out. He interrupts the natural consequences of actions when he uses a coin toss on occasion to give people the opportunity to save themselves. He tells the proprietor that the date on the coin is 1958 and has been traveling 22 years to get here. He adds, "And I'm here, and I've got my hand over it." That's important to note because it puts emphasis on Chigurh explaining that he is intimately tied to the coin. When talking to Carla Jean, he tells her, "For things at a common destination, there is a common path. Not always easy to see, but there." Chigurh also tells her he got there the same way the coin did. Maybe the author of all this, Cormac McCarthy, holds the opinion that Carla Jean has when she says, "The coin didn't have no say. It was just you." My name is Justin Tobin, and thank you for watching.